Is a seated hamstring curl better for power output and injury prevention, or is the Nordic curl best for athletes training for strength, speed, and injury prevention? They kind of do two different things, and so I'm going to explain the differences. That way you can decide what is best for your training program. So for the seated hamstring curl, that is going to hit the hamstring in the lengthened position because the hamstring crosses the knee and hip joint. And since you're going to be in a more leaned forward position on the seated curl, that's going to work the hamstring in a more lengthened position. Whereas when you're having that closed hip or that upright posture on something like the Nordic, it's really just going to be working the shortened position or across the knee joint, since your hip isn't moving during the Nordic if you're performing it, correctly. So honestly, a little bit of this comes down to where do you feel weak or where do you have issues with injury. So like for me, whenever I have issues with my hamstring, because I have had issues with my hamstring in the past, it's never close to my knee. It's usually close to my glute or like my hip. So for me, something like a seated hamstring curl is going to be likely more beneficial because I'm working in the lengthened position and also at the hip joint, whereas something like a lying hamstring curl or a Nordic hamstring curl isn't going to be doing that. Also, you mentioned SLDLs. That is going to be crossing the hip joint. So similar to your mention of the seated hamstring curl, they're going to be doing similar jobs, whereas something like the Nordic is going to be more like a lying hamstring curl. So for my recommendation, I would choose one that is going to be in the lengthened position, working the hip joint and the knee joint, and then one that is working at mainly just the knee joint, and then stick to that. So that would be either the seated or SLDL, choose one of the two, or any other one that is going to work the knee and hip joint, and then choose one that is working predominantly just the knee joint, so something like a lying hamstring curl or a Nordic.